Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. We're here in the live patch. The Vampire Coast has officially been released, so the patch has gone live. Let's get straight to the battles here. Myself playing the Empire against a Chaos player rocking the brand new Archaon, the Ever-Chosen. So let's have a look. Crown of Domination, Cascading Firecloak, Flaming Sword of Ruin, and Burning Head, as well as the Slayer of Kings, Standard Die, and Foe Seeker as well. Looks like we've got a Shaggoth with a whole line of Chaos Warriors with great weapons, a few scattered Marauder Horse Masters, some Chaos Poison Warhounds, and that's pretty much it for my forces. We've got 3 units of Pistoliers, front line of State Troop, Spearmen, and Swordsmen. We've got Karl Franz up on the Griffin here, ready to challenge Lord of the End Times. So Karl versus Archaon, super thematic matchup. We've got Hammer of Witches, a couple units of Empire Knights out toward the flanks, the Faith Demis, the Royal Altar of Griphites with the supporting Warrior Priest, Jade Wizard, and so on. So without further ado, you can see battles already getting underway, getting a bit of a skirmish phase underway between these Pistoliers and their Marauder Horsemaster counterparts, with the cannon also contributing some shots here. So we'll go into cinematic mode and watch as these guys jockey for position here. Another beautiful cannon shot right on target, and because of the thick formation there, it takes out a good number of unit models. Meanwhile, Karl Franz and the Pistoliers just diving in very aggressively, are going straight after the Horsemasters. I figured if we could get Karl Franz in here, do some quick damage, we could potentially win this skirmish fight. Pistoliers also had a relatively minor melee buff in the last patch, so I wanted to see how they would do here, and they honestly did pretty well. One unit did get munched on by the Hounds a little bit there, who came to support, but the Hounds we pull away and we're able to isolate. Karl Franz with his terror terrifies them away very quickly, and suddenly the tables have been turned. Pistoliers go ahead and countercharge the other unit of Hounds, and again Karl Franz quickly dropping that terror bomb, routing off those Chaos Poison Warhounds. So I'm just very quickly in this initial phase trying to eliminate my opponent's mobility as much as possible so that I can kind of dictate the pace of the battle with my Knights and with Karl and so on. Archaon and the Shaggoth chasing, but Karl able to get back up in the air at the very last second. Might have taken a little bit of a glancing hit there from Archaon, but nonetheless, looking good so far. Chaos Warriors advancing across the field. Cannon perfectly content to sit in the back line as I'm contesting this mobility game very aggressively. These guys aren't going to be able to get up and around and get at my cannons, so with that I'm going to start to pull some of my more heavy-duty troops over to this side. Since both Archaon and the Shaggoth are here, I figure if we can go ahead and try and get them separated from this infantry support potentially, we could get some good damage done. The cannons also switched over onto the Shaggoth here, so you can see the shot incoming. Well dodged there by the Shaggoth on the extreme end of the range there. Pistoliers also firing in a few volleys. It'll do a little bit of damage, not a whole lot, but again, Hounds trying to separate them here from the Horsemasters and from the other units so that we can get them off the field. They are going to start to munch on the Pistoliers a little bit, maybe drag down a couple of unit models, but the Empire Knight's going to go ahead and countercharge through the ranks there and see off those Hounds quite nicely. Marauder Horsemen throwing in their javelins from up on the hill. Karl Franz, bit of a hit and run there, a bit of a feinted charge actually, or more appropriately, but the cannon continuing to still fire away. And yeah, Chaos Warriors now realizing they're kind of losing on this mobility game. They need to try and advance this front line and push through as quickly as possible, which is definitely exactly what they need to do. They've kind of waited a long time trying to take this kind of skirmish mobility game out on this flank, where they could have been pushing forward with the Chaos Warriors this entire time, but nonetheless, starting to push forward now. The Shaggoth and Archaon going to also press forward. That's going to kind of concede this flank a little bit to us here. Empire Knights actually making those Marauder Horsemasters take a bit of friendly fire there, but then pulling away. They're going to come in support. Karl Franz juicing up with all the buffs here. Royal Altar of Griphites also getting the buffs there, but we're gonna focus on Karl fighting Archaon here, all ready to do about a quarter of his HP and damage. The Empire Knights come in for a bit of supporting just to take some hits there, and Archaon also popped up his stats, also up to about 800 total weapon strength, so definitely the duel of the fates happening right there. Meanwhile, the rest of the frontline engagement getting underway here. Flaming Sword of Ruin and everything. The Royal Altar of Griphites going to pull back as they had taken quite a bit of shock damage initially. Same thing with Karl, going to try and get back up into the air, separate these Marauder Horsemasters once again. Pistoliers being very aggressive here, and that melee buff, especially the charge bonus buff that they got in particular, coming in very useful here as they get their little spadroons out. start to carve up these Horse Masters no problemo with the support of Karl Franz. And he's going to get back up into the air and start to hunt down this backline trouble. We've got Shaggoth potentially trying to come after this cannon here all across the line. State troops are losing, but they're holding, and that's all I ask of them, is that they hold for enough time that we can deal with some of these high-value units here and try and win on leadership. You can see the Shaggoth desperately running again from the Royal Altar of Griphites. They're going to get in a few swings here, and Karl Franz also coming over. Bit of a pitched engagement here. Karl dives in. Unfortunately, the Altar of Griphites get screened out. Very well played by my opponent there to screen them out. Karl immediately decides to turn back up since he doesn't have the support of those demis. But these Chaos Warriors had been pushing through a little bit aggressively here. The front line starting to crumble, so we're going to have to stop them up with the Altar of Griphites, and Karl acrobatically tossing some of the Chaos Warriors up in the air. Meanwhile, Archaon and the Shaggoth supporting over in this engagement here are going to terrify away some of those state troops, so definitely a bit of give and take. Balance power is slightly in my favor here. Pistoliers doing very well, kind of operating out in the periphery, cleaning up some of the mobile units for my opponent. And Archaon and his kind of elite force in the center pushing through, although the cannon's still able to fire free here without too much impedance. And Royal Altar of Griphites once again going to get a regrowth here. This time, regrowth, instead of replenishing their health, it actually refreshes their vigor, which is in and of itself extremely useful. Puts them back up to fresh and juices up their stats some more. Of course, the physical resistance is definitely nice as well, but the healing definitely going to be worth it. You can see Cascading Fire Cloak and Standard Eye on Archaon as he goes after Karl Franz here. Karl standing his ground, literally standing his ground there quite nicely. And yeah, Karl's going to get back up into the air, try and do a bit of a cycle charge here as the Royal Altar of Griphites are a little bit inundated. There's not a whole lot of troops here protecting. You can see we've had to use the Jade Wizard to kind of stop up this unit of Chaos Warriors so that the cannon can fire in. Bit of a desperate situation there, but trying to preserve that cannon for as long as possible while we continue to try and fight. And Archaon at this point, just kind of at the edges here, all these supporting troops not really supporting. Archaon's down below 1,000 HP, and with Karl Franz, he's got the Reiklunder Fang up, and Galmra is going to come around for one last cycle charge and actually finish off the Lord of the End Times right under the nose of his own troops. And that's going to put a severe dent in the balance of power just based on leadership alone. We've got a whole bunch of rallying troops here. We're now going to be able to isolate this this kind of compromising position of these Chaos Warriors and the Shaggoth here and start to drop some terror bombs as we clean up in the late game. So a very fun battle, well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. I know it's been a ton of Vampire Coast and Counts lately, so I figured I'd give you guys a little bit of something different. I know you guys big fans of Empire on the channel, so Karl Franz leading the way, taking down the new and improved Archaon. And it just goes to show, you know, despite all of Archaon's buffs, Karl is still, especially up on Deathclaw, one of the highest tier of combat lords in the game. And it's something that not a lot of people have realized about good old Karl Franz, but he is a world leader in every sense of the word, and especially with able to get it, you know, kind of the give and take there, drawing out different mobile units and isolating them and trying to clean them up so that when Karl did inevitably engage the Lord of the End Times in melee, we were able to you know, get the favorable engagement where there wasn't a lot of support for Archaon, and that ultimately proved to be the deciding factor, in my opinion. In terms of the army breakdown, we just, yeah, a lot of kills on the Pistoliers, getting some good work done, kind of operating in that mobile engagement with the support of Karl. Empire Knights doing some work. Altar of Griphites, 81 kills on the Hammer of Witches as well, considering it was shooting at cavalry for a lot of that time. That's quite an impressive kill total, all things considered. State troop front line got more or less decimated, but that's kind of what I expected here. Chaos Warriors definitely cleaned up shop in the front line. Unfortunately, just needed to push forward probably a little bit sooner and not necessarily take that mobility game, just because, you know, he's got, what, 3 units of skirmish cav, a couple of super light cavalry, I guess you could call them. In these, they're not technically cav, they count as infantry size, but they operate more or less like light cavalry, Archaon and the Shaggoth, whereas I have 2 units of knights, which definitely outweigh the hounds. Although the hounds are faster, then I've got the World Beater Lord, and I've also got, you know, the Altar of Griphites, which kind of fill in for the place of the Shaggoth. So more or less equal, except that, I mean, obviously the Empire Knights are much more expensive, and they hit a lot harder than the hounds. So to kind of contest that as aggressively as my opponent did, if he was contesting the front line at the same time, it might have been a lot more effective, because then he could have pushed through on the cannon sooner without having taken quite so much damage. Maybe could have cleaned things up, but it's tough to say. Well played to my opponent regardless. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.